All of us, as part of the international community, are committed to calling for peace in the Middle East. A ceasefire has been a point we have made continuously. It's going to be important that we bring all parties to the table. The best gift we could give round about this time is an increase in the amount of peace that must take place, a ceasing of violence and fire, ensuring that ultimately a peaceful negotiated settlement is brought on the table. For violence cannot continue over a long period of time. It runs the risk of spreading further than what the Middle Eastern crisis is.
Yes, of course, I do agree with the sentiments that Israel should be forced. We just need to push our South African government as a member of a United Nation to invoke the Article 6. Any member of the United Nations who persistently violate the Article 6. Article 6 says the member who is in violation of those laws must be removed from the participation of the United Nations. The USA 3 times vetoed the ceasefire resolution. So the USA is fully behind the genocide. The USA is fully behind the killing of innocent people in Palestine.
They should be forced to a ceasefire to allow for peaceful dialogue. I think it's inadequate. It would require serious effort, serious political will, so that the people of Palestine enjoy their national sovereignty, self-determination, peace and nation building like any other country. So thus far, ceasefire ought to be forced. International community must up their game in resolving the issues that continue to affect the people of Palestine.
Yes, Israel should be forced into a ceasefire by the international community, as the International Court of Justice has highlighted that there is prima facie evidence that highlights Israel-Kirby Convention of the International Convention on Genocide. Whilst the UN General Assembly has written so many resolutions concerning there to be a ceasefire, the UN Security Council has failed to act concerning the ceasefire. Therefore, the legitimacy of international multilateralism here is at stake. If Israel wants to continue playing this card as being a moral state or a state with legitimacy in the eyes of the international community, it will cease to contravene the very essence and the tenets that make up the international rules-based system through this contravention of international law and the perpetuation and continuation of genocide currently in Palestine, and now the invasion of Lebanon spilling over into a greater regional conflict that we as an international community do not want to see continue. The international community, especially from South Africa's perspective, South Africa took a very moral stance and took Israel to court concerning the very assets and tenets of the international system, mainly the rules-based system. In this instance, South Africa alleges that Israel has contravened the Convention on Genocide. And other international actors have taken Israel, along with its politicians and heads of state, to the International Criminal Court. And this is a very critical step that international actors have played. However, whilst we have seen the UN General Assembly taking a very robust and consensus-based resolutions around ending the conflict, what we have failed to see are major hegemonic states such as the United States of America becoming buffers against a long and lasting solution in the conflict. Instead, what we have seen is that the USA and other actors have stood in the way of justice and the international community from acting, therefore bolstering Israel to continue and perpetuate its current human rights atrocities on the Palestinian people and the people of the Middle East.
It's almost a year since the genocide campaign of Israel in Gaza. To this date, Israel has dropped over 12,000 tons of explosive, equivalent to a nuclear bomb in Gaza. Gaza is one of the most densely populated areas in the world, with 2 million Palestinians trapped inside with nowhere to go. This is a genocide, and we are seeing it live and in HD on our social media, on our news, on our TVs, and it cannot continue anymore. We believe that the implementing body of the United Nations Security Council, has an urgent duty to stop the genocide. The implementing body of the United Nations is the United Nations Security Council. It has the powers to implement in terms of military or in terms of an armed force to intervene. The United Security Council has a responsibility. They must take arms. They have the responsibility to mobilize member states of the United Nations that have militaries, that have armies, to go and intervene if Israel does not want to stop killing of Palestinians.